really stuck, and which is why we're here today. So the next question is going to be, where does that come from? I guess it's an extension of who the Hip Hop Republican is.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Comfortable? You guys gonna do audio recordings on the phones?
Yeah,
Might as well.
I'm gonna do
Just
audio
put it
on
on the
mine.
sound clock.
yeah.
There's
You
gonna be
never
one-
listened to that 3 minute that I sent you, huh?
I was looking for storage and then like something happened and
That's
it's
fine, that
deleted,
should still
but
happen.
there's something in the phone called DCMI when you're clearing data, and I found it. And I was like, oh, let me go back to WhatsApp to listen to it from there, and then it was gone. But yeah, I caught like probably 30 seconds of the end of it somehow. It was, who was it? You and,
Rich. That's all right. No, I got the
Richardson?
recorder. No. My other guy. I'll just send it back to you.
alright.
All right, so we're good to go.
You guys ready here?
Yeah, we're ready.
I swear a lot, I'm sorry, Darius.
No, I'm good.
You also apologize for that.
Like the Key and Peele skit?
Hey guys.
Yeah, there's something I gotta get out of the way before we start recording. Ready? Alright, so I'm gonna hit record. Give me a second to sit, because I'm gonna end up editing that out, and then we'll go like the count of 3 once I'm sitting or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we leave it, sometimes we cut it out, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Lords of Apathy in the house with a very special and interesting guest. This man goes by the name of the Hip Hop Republican. How are you, sir?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Mr. Hip Hop Republican,
Yes.
thank you for coming on.
my-
Long time in the making.
My name is Darius Mitchell D. I'm the hip hop. I'm a Republican, so you just keep that on the low for right now.
We're going to get into it.
I don't think we can, it's in the name.
All right, so first, just out of respect of you being a human being and us being who we are, how are you, bro? How you been, man?
I'm good.
How's
Great.
2019 treating you?
It was good. It is good, and just try to finish strong, you know.
Obviously.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. I'm doing pretty good. We're up in an undisclosed area, as usual.
The area, that's right.
So I can show
A
you
bunker.
all right, so let's just get into
It was
it,
mine
man.
and Darius' city, you say that.
Yeah, we'll say that
All
much.
right. Well, we'll cut that out.
Yeah, that's just a
This
little
is an
edit.
internet thing.
Cable bill okay?
All right, so straight out of the gate, man, what does Hip Hop Republican mean?
So Hip Hop Republican, I'm a big Abraham Lincoln fan. I'm a big Frederick Douglass fan, and I'm a hip hop fan. I grew up hip hop. You know, people have degrees, but hip hop, a lot of us don't have degrees. We grew up in hip hop. You know, seeing this music develop, and so I mix the Republican, Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, John Brown with hip hop because of, you know, most African Americans are Democrats, and we grew up in the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. Hip hop was flourishing. Hip hop record companies, BET, MTV, you know, Rockefeller Records, Bad Boy Records, Wu-Tang, Death Row. I mean, you know, these are entrepreneurs, but then at the same time you have Bill Clinton, who was seen as the first black president. He passed a lot of things to attack that situation in our generation with criminal justice reform, the crime bill, 1994 crime bill, where you had mandatory minimums, people getting locked up, cocaine, powder, which one's worth more time.
Yeah.
You could go, myself, I was arrested for 10 grams of marijuana and plead out for 3 years probation and it just affected my life till today.
Yeah.
Democrat, that was, you know, Bill Clinton and Joe Biden,
Kamala Harris.
Deval Patrick's there in that Justice Department.
Okay. So is it fair to say that when you refer to Republicans, you refer to an era where you found pride in the Republican Party? Are you comparing, when you say hip hop Republican, are you saying like hip hop Republican right now?
Yeah,
Well,
right now.
Well, is it more hip hop? Not is it hip hop Republican or anti-democrat, but is it more that you find value in conservative and Republican values, or are you that anti-democrat in the early '90s that was very crime and punishment?
Well, yeah, I'm very anti that, and what it is today, and how they still try to finagle around and trick and take things for granted. And I'm Lincoln, Frederick Douglass. You know, their spirit. They didn't have money. They weren't the popular choices. They weren't billionaires. They weren't millionaires. They weren't senators. He wasn't a governor. And they they ended up impacting this country that we see it affects today. They were just real with it, and they got the job done. And that's the Republican Party, and we can't be forced to just run and vote Democrat just because of our perception of the Republican Party.
I agree with that.
You know.
Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of it is accidental, Freudian slip. Sometimes when we come up in the conversation, I still say to Cedric, who knows what it is? I'll end up saying, "Did you call the Black Republicans?" Like it was like, but a lot of that is tied into it. Is a lot of what you're saying is you are an African American male in America, and you're not finding solace. I don't know what the word is that the words I'm looking for, but you're identifying with the conservative values of the Republican Party outside of, I would say, some of the blatantly racist stuff that they have done and do. There's something there that does tie into a lot of African American values and things that would benefit African Americans. That's what you identify with. And you put the hip hop in because you're a huge hip hop fan, right?
I like the Lincoln story.
Right.
Frederick Douglass story.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And all the different,
Original.
I'm not trying to align with anything. I'm not trying to be put in any box.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And Lincoln, everybody Lincoln freed the slaves, but Lincoln's climb, he lost, and he was homeless, and he lost, and nobody thought he was going to be the one. And he did a speech that nobody wanted at Cooper Union in Brooklyn, and the speech went crazy. A house divided cannot stand.
Mm.
And it went out across New England. He ended up in New Hampshire. Frederick Douglass was a slave. He used to look out at the Chesapeake and dream about being free. And then, he was sent to the slave breaker. And ended up fighting the slave breaker one day for 2 hours.
Frederick Douglass, he also considered himself Pan-African?
No, he was before all that.
I'm sorry, that was Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, Marcus.
Right.
Frederick was a slave, and he fought the most known slave breaker for 2 hours and broke his will, and ended up escaping, coming to New Bedford and becoming Frederick Douglass, just world renowned. But that's what I'm talking. I don't care about conservative, liberal, left, right.
You're not putting yourself into a certain lane.
I'm down with hip hop. When we out with our families at the holidays and Will Smith comes on. We know Will Smith because Will Smith is from Philadelphia, a hip hopper. Parents just don't understand. And he's like one of the first ones to bring home a Grammy, hip hoppers. And now he's Will. But no matter where you at in the world, and you're with your family and getting jiggy with it, come on, and it's Will. That's family. That's hip hop.
All right.
So what I'm seeing is you're inspired by the come up of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, which you
Yeah.
could also tie to the come up of guys like Hove and name it in hip hop, rags to riches story. It seems like you're really inspired by that. You're tying like the old Republican that you're talking about with the hip hop come up. So I think that's I'm kind of getting that's what I'm.
I can see the connection.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I mean-
not trying to speak for you. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
asking.
so
not just hip hop, just as an American.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't believe in anything anymore. You know what I'm saying?
oh yeah.
Sure.
People are like, oh, you can't, or you ain't got enough. And it's just like everything you need is there. Do you want it?
And it's also in regards to the knowledge of how going about it as well, I would say. But all right, so I mean,
Good point.
the name is what gravitated us to, you know what I'm saying, a hip hop company. That's what we found so interesting. And then just like now, once we got into understanding why you call yourself that, the more interesting point of view was your political point of view, your political background. So I guess my next question is, when did that all come into play? When were you politically conscious, I guess I would say?
Well,
When was that spark?
Well, politically conscious. When you really like after 9/11, really like as an adult, you, as an adult, you're like, wow, what just happened? And the world is going crazy. Those weren't Iraqi Muslims that brought down them towers. They were Saudis. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I just know that I'm from Dover, Delaware. I'm from the Mid-Atlantic, so there's different type of Muslims. You know, it's just like, wow, we're about to go to war with Iraq. Shock and awe. You know,
Yeah,
and it's just like things are going fast, and then things are going on locally. You know, what locally it was the fireworks on. They got rid of the fireworks in 2003 in Lowell, and families used to go to the boulevard every 4th of July for barbecue, picnic, and at the end of the day,
Oh, they got rid of the public display of fireworks?
here in Lowell in 2003.
What about the ones over by Lachur Field? The ones that are over
Before this is way before that.
Okay. Yeah.
Before Latcher Field, the city council of Lowell in 2003 cut the budget on fire. They were cutting the budget for school, whatever craziness they got going on over there. The good old days. So they cut $8,000 to $80,000 for 4th of July fireworks. So
how many years is that of fireworks? That's a lot.
no, 1 year, but it's fireworks.
$1,000.
I don't know. No, don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Just something.
Okay.
It's something small. It's 4th of July. It's Lowell.
Yeah.
Lowell is a historic city. You gotta celebrate 4th of July. So it's 9/11. Things are changing, and they cut the budget. All city councils agreed. So when 4th of July came, 2003, we were all out there like usual, the whole city, and when it comes to the end of the night, we done ate, kicked it, everybody. You can see crowds, kids, families coming to the boulevard. They're not reading the newspaper like me. Some are, some ain't, but they're not reading that the budget was cut for 4th of July in the city of Lowell. So we're all on the boulevard, beautiful night, 4th of July, and the police come through. No fireworks this year, no fireworks, go home, no fireworks. And everybody, and kids, I seen the look on kids' faces, everything. And everyone was just like,
That was pretty abrupt, or just the way they did it. There was no.
yeah, there was newspapers, but everybody ain't reading the newspaper and the
People were
news.
just ready for the
Yeah.
tradition.
There's
Yeah,
a different
huh?
world than
They were ready for the
it is
tradition,
now.
and then they actually really found out on the day of
And
the day.
people,
You're connected with everything now. I mean, you get a notification on your phone, on the Facebook.
well, this
was
is
2003 though.
two,
Yeah, exactly.
2000,
It's
yeah.
exactly what I'm saying.
This
It's a
is,
different world.
you know,
Yeah.
dialing up people back then. So anyway, I just seen a look on their face, and I was like, and like it was like a time like a lot of older people had passed away, the leaders in the community. And I just looked around, and I was like, as everybody left, like, what's going on? Kids, especially the kids, I remember. And it was just like a look of disappointment in their faces. And I said to myself, I'm calling City Hall tomorrow, and I'm gonna see how much it is to get on that city council ballot. 2003, 4th of July.
So that was one of the big things that sparked it.
Yeah, cause I'm military brat. I'm into that. But it's right after 9/11, 2001, end of 2001, right? So I got pride in America, patriotic.
Yeah.
And then 2002, you guys cut the budget. Lowell is not celebrating the independence of the nation. We're from the Merrimack Valley. A lot of that comes from here, Concord. That's what. So I was like, I called, and how much is it? I called the next day, office day, business day, like, how much does it cost to run for city council? And they were like, oh, it doesn't cost anything. 50 signatures.
That's it.
No cost. So I went and got my signatures. People are like, what's Mike crazy? Who talked him into that? They talk, like my aunt, she's older. She's a widow, but she's an activist for a long time in the community. People like, she talked him into doing that, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? All these scenarios.
But you stepped out, you got the information, figured out what you needed.
Yeah, and put my name on the ballot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
That was
right.
awesome.
All right. So, all right, next question for you. Lords of Apathy. All right? Us, in regards to being Lords of Apathy, the word apathetic, it's really almost being indifferent about many things. And for us, we've come to the situation where we're very apathetic about a lot of things, especially in politics. We won't not talk about it. We'll talk about it, especially if it's interesting or if it's of the times, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, my lasting thought on it is like, man, at the end, I don't want to say I can't give a fuck. I can, but I don't invest too much of it. I look at myself as a spectator watching the sport go out, one side against each other. Now, knowing what we are, Lords of Apathy, what would you say to someone like us? Because you obviously
What up, D?
I can.
you obviously put up, you got a passion for this. I can see that, right? What would you say to someone like us, Lords of Apathy, to convince us? Do anything, participate, whatever it is.
Well, everybody counts. And when you have like a podcast, and it's a time like right now, we're living through the third impeachment in history, and it's Christmas time, and it's a presidential election coming up. It's a turn of a decade. The one fifth of the century is gone. And are you satisfied with that 1/5? If you look back in 2000 with that election and watching the towers come down and what happened after that in Iraq and George Bush reelected, and then you have the rise of Obama. He's there for 8 years, and then Trump. And are you satisfied with the direction of the country? Because why I like Lincoln, why I like Frederick Douglass, because Frederick Douglass was a slave in Maryland, St. Michael's somewhere. So was Harriet Tubman, and Lincoln was a homeless dude that came to Illinois, but they impact the nation even to today. 200 years later, and that's America. It's the ones that they don't recognize, the underdogs.
They can come and leave a mark
Yeah.
to this day.
Yeah.
Being a Republican, what are you going to vote in 2020?
Am I voting in 2020? Yes.
Do you mind if I ask who you're voting for?
I'm going to vote for myself. I am a candidate for president, and we have the election coming up in Iowa, February 3rd.
You are a presidential candidate.
Yes, I have traveled the country.
Lords of Apathy, we're sitting with
Yeah, I was on the phone with him having this conversation with him.
This is news to me, but this is fantastic. Okay.
Darius Mitchell, the hip hop.
Like.
I'm gonna be proud. I'm a Republican. I'm not hiding it anymore. I'm a Republican.
What's the problem with Trump? Why wouldn't you want to vote for him?
Because he's old, stale, and crusty. His he just came through with restricting American airlines from America from flying into Cuba. They fly there, but they're only allowed to fly into Havana, and before they could fly into any other cities, and that took effect December 13th, yesterday.
Jesus, I didn't even know this. Wow.
So this is Cuba, and like my company is Embargo. It's named after the Cuba embargo.
What does your company do?
We're media, political media, media and politics, and American, just American.
Now, I don't want to stray away from what you were saying, so I'll try to end my first question. So, you're a candidate, official.
Yes.
It's official right now?
Okay.
Yes.
Now, let's say you're voting for yourself. Okay. Obviously, then you may pull votes, but ultimately, what's the effect in regards to that? Obviously, if you look at it the positive way, you, through social media, through how you do contact, I mean, like you're fucking everywhere when I look at your IG. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you're promoting yourself. Now, you don't get the votes that you need, but let's say, and I'm just looking towards the future, what happens from there? Let's say you don't make it. And the reason why I ask is from a person on my end of it, it's like I said, it still doesn't matter. I'm still apathetic towards it because you're making your mark. And I get that. And you have drive and direction. But in my eyes as a spectator, it still falls short to the matrix or the system.
Don't get into the matrix.
Yeah. But you see where I'm coming from? Because I look at everything in an apathetic point of view.
I think we have three different points of view when it comes to this stuff. Like, I think you are looking at the country or the world, and you see an impact you can make or a change you can make unselfishly. All right, make the place a better world, with standing on your values. Cedric, like you said, he's a spectator. He tends not to let a lot of the stuff that goes on in the world, or even people, get to him. Me, on the other hand, I take it as a lot of this political and religious things that we hear, mixed with social media and outrage culture, is part of a system that wants us to be distracted from self-fulfillment altogether. Whether that's inspiring becoming a millionaire, or making a podcast, the greatest podcast, or becoming a musician, or whatever it is, becoming a fitness guru, whatever that is. I think a lot of political ideals and religious ideals have been hijacked and have been pushed on people. If you adopt an ideology, then you can look down on the other people. And I'm not saying this about you. I just, what I'm seeing from people on social media is, well, I've adopted an ideology. These assholes don't agree with me. Mostly on the left, by the way, is who does, I think. And instead of just looking at your life being a train wreck, a lot of these people are just judging other people out there. So I feel like, you know what, if I'm going to make a difference, I have to make a difference with myself. You are actually walking the walk and talking the talk. Your name's in the ballot. You have identified why you feel a certain way, which I think a lot of people aren't doing. Said on the other hand, is just like, I'm not going to let any of that. So I think we have like three different points of view.
I mean, my point of view is like, you have to start with yourself.
Yeah.
But once I realized starting with myself, I realized that that's pretty much what I can control. It's myself and then my influence around my circle. You know what I'm saying? Especially, like, we'll always bring it back to outliers. We meet special people, just like Darius, and then it sort of branches out from there. But come on, man, that's like movement of a Mars. You know what I'm saying? That's like movement of Mars. You still have to start with yourself, and by the time you make some sort of headway, almost dead, man.
Yeah. Well,
So
right.
that's my thing is, it's not like, oh, just fuck the world, don't ask me for shit. I'm thinking, starts with yourself, and that's where you actually make the change. You really change your mental environment instead of changing the world.
Or maybe the happy medium is what you're doing. The happy medium is you see something, but instead of just living those values, you're taking it out there, you're putting your name on it now, you're trying to help the city, things like that.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean the small stuff too. I do appreciate in regards to like voting for your councilman. I think all that stuff makes more sense than like
yeah.
voting for presidents.
I
and
heard
shit.
his name when I was out there holding some signs. Somebody said, there goes Darius. Like, I know one Darius up this side. I didn't see him. He must have run into a building or something. But, real quick, the hip hop stuff. Got a couple hip hop questions. Who's your favorite MC or your favorite group?
Well, my favorite group is I don't know, is Wu-Tang.
Mhm.
Uh,
Interesting.
I mean, I have a lot of favorite groups. EPMD,
No, it was essentially
Tribe Called
a
Quest.
bland question.
You know, I have a lot of groups, but favorite MCs probably KRS One.
Okay.
Growing up, Boogie Down Productions, and you know, the beef, Bronx versus Queens, and the Symphony, and
That was a
Juice Crew.
Yeah, that was a bit before me when I started. When I came of age.
Symphony,
Cool G Rap?
Cool G Rap, Marley Marl, Craig G, Master Ace, Big
Ace
Daddy
was on
Kane,
that, right?
Big Daddy Kane.
I gotta show you, we gotta show you a song later. There's a song I showed Cedric. Master Ace is still doing it.
He
He got
is.
a song called, what was it, Me and My Crew?
My old Master Ace.
Yeah, what was that?
God, I forget, man.
He had a song, Me and My Biz, Me and the
No,
Biz.
it's recent.
But
Me and My
it's
Clique.
recent,
Me
yeah,
and
he
My
throws
Crew.
me so much.
Yeah, I
But
can't
yeah,
remember.
he's in the
It's
cars.
hilarious,
Man.
man, yeah.
It's hip hop, man. People come out of hip hop, be laying this shit, and come out with hip hop and smell like roses. The way people
It
come
was
out.
crazy, man, for hip hop, for the time that it's been around. Dude, hip hop is all over the world. Like in regards to influence, man, I was at the Celtics game the other day.
Which one?
Monday, so it was versus Cleveland. We talking. And I'm telling you, everything I heard was just nothing but straight hip hop. I mean, meanwhile, you know, not majority white, but you know, it is what it is.
Hip hop, at this point, it has, again, it didn't even just start off as the music, it started off as the dance and the graffiti, the way people wore clothes. You see it in everything. For
Everything.
in everything. It's
And
not even
every-
just white kids acting
No,
a certain
but-
way, but everything.
No,
It's
everything.
in everything but politics, where it should be. It's in everything except for who is the hip hop candidate for our 2020 election, the most important election in our lifetime. Who is the hip hop champion? Yeah, we are all over the world. Our brothers and sisters are suffering in Hong Kong. They're suffering in China. They're suffering in Cuba. And where are the American hip hop? Where are we? When are we gonna make our stand? Because we haven't. And we have to do more. And we have to do more than just say I'm voting Democrat or call Trump a racist or yell Bernie's name. We have to make a stand now, you know. Hip hop Republican.
Yeah, that's been the best.
That ties in.
Trump's the best stump speech I've heard so far.
And that
I
does
like
tie that tie into the question that we asked. We never really got the answer, so you just answered it, and thank you for that in regards to. So why would you tell somebody like us? How would you explain?
Because, okay, if you're a Republican and you're a hip hop Republican, and the election start February 3rd, Iowa, and you gotta do what the president already proved it. He can beat you if you just sit there and vote Democrat straight through.
Yeah.
But what happens when you're voting? But what's happening when you're voting Republican?
Thinking outside the box.
When you're, you know, and there's going to be candidates. And what if your candidate ain't on the ballot? You know, are you willing to write it in? Is this that important to you? You know, because in Hong Kong, them motherfuckers are getting it in.
Yeah.
They doing more than just
You know,
putting
more
they.
than hashtagging.
All right.
Yeah.
In Iran,
They're like-
people dying, and they're looking to us,
Michael, you're supposed to say.
and they're like, "What do you got? Help? What do you got? You guys have your freedoms? What do you? Oh, you got your iPhone 19 for Christmas? You know, Iran. If we free them, that's what it's about. Cuba, and I like it because the other candidates, they're just senators, governors, millionaires, but what do they care about? You know, what is it they've worked on their life? Like they've risked their paycheck or risked their savings for, risked their life for, you know. And that thing for me is definitely the Cuban embargo. It's time to end. It's 60 years, 13 presidents. You know, Obama broke down some of those walls back when he was ending his presidency. And we can't be treating the people of Cuba like shit. And they love Americans. And I want to be that president that ends the Cuban embargo. And, you know, Trump now, Donald Trump, he stopped the cruises there in June. All these people in the country, all these companies had.
My cruise there in June.
Did he?
Yeah, I was supposed to be going
In June.
Not June. It was after the fact. Once.
But
he
it
put
was
all
in
those
June.
goddamn regulations
So
in place.
why? No, wait a minute. Why would they? Oh, this great economic president. Why would he do that? It's not for American safety or public. He did it because he's always trying to stick. He's very jealous of former President Barack Obama.
Yeah, well, you can tell.
Iran deal.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Iranians probably wouldn't be getting killed right now if he didn't stop that. If he didn't break President Obama's Iran deal, and those people over there, they agree with us. They get hungry. You break their American deals where they buy our produce, and they're hungry and they're starving, and it's economic famine. Then they're protesting, unlike us, and we have to step up, man. We have to sneak up on them, and that's what the hip hop Republican will provide. It will provide substance. You know what I'm saying?
All right, cool. So one more question, and this one's a little more general. In regards to social media, obviously we was just talking about like 2003, the difference. But in regards to social media, what do you think, end of this decade, that's another conversation we'll have a random part about, but the end of this decade, the difference from, just like when we were on the phone and you brought up the fact that like, dude, it's the ending of a decade. I almost didn't realize it. It's the ending of a decade and the beginning of another. But now we have this social media piece in regards to